All right, what's up everyone? In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the Orchestra AI agent and the Orchestra MCP to identify anomalies in your data. So a big thing about Orchestra is we fetch all the metadata. You can see we have like a view of every single table, all of your tests, but you can also see like how long everything is running for. So importantly, all of this is available via API. So what we're going to do is if you head down to your local code environment, basically if you go to your users area and then you go to .claude.json, you'll get a file like this. And what you should do is you should basically, under the projects area, go to the repo where you're going to be running your like your Claude agent. And then when it comes to MCP servers, you can put in the Orchestra MCP server. And what this is going to do is it's going to make sure that you can run the MCP so that you know how to interact with Orchestra's API. It's pretty simple. We have an API key down here, which I'm not going to show you. And then after that, you should have your MCP. Using it is super easy. If we just type in Claude MCP list, this is going to show us what MCP service we have installed here inside this repo called Claude testing. You can see we're checking the MCP server health. Now we can see we've actually run that command that we put in the config. Everything is connected. Happy days. So let's open up Claude and we can actually take a look at a prompt that I did earlier. So if we just scroll up here, I've said, find me the most long-running tasks using the Orchestra MCP. Explain the uptick for week on week and why they might be increasing in time. And you can see that Claude has returned a list of tasks. So for example, this pipeline called my Sigma workbook sync, it's only run a couple of times, but it's typically one of the slower pipelines, but the variation here is pretty tight. Obviously, if you were using Orchestra every day, then you would have much more information than this. But it's pretty helpful because you can see that Claude provides quite helpful updates because Orchestra has all of this data to hand. So we can ask Claude something slightly different this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey Claude, using the Orchestra MCP, try to find me anomalous runs. Basically, for each task and pipeline, roughly work out the distribution and identify tasks or pipelines that were in the top 10% of long-running tasks for those tasks or pipelines. So I might fast forward here, but you kind of get the gist of things. All right, so we can see that Claude has finished doing its thing, and it's gone to the Orchestra API to fetch a bunch of data. It says, I have the data, now let me run Python analysis over all the saved files to complete distributions and flag anomalies. And it actually wants to create a file, which is great because it means that we'll be able to repeat this work over and over again just by using Python, which is super cool. So now we've created that file. It should be over here somewhere. And now we're running it. And yeah, this should basically get us some anomalies. So let's wait a second. And now we can take a look at the anomaly report. So let's have a look. 340 pipeline runs, 15 pipelines, 200 tasks. And we're excluding stuff where we don't have many runs. So this is pretty cool. there I have a pipeline then. Orchestra metadata import. Strong anomaly. 8 runs. One of them took 10 minutes. Wow, I wonder why. Over the P90 boundary on March 31st. I even have a link to the lineage. No way. Let's go take a look at that. All right. So we can see what's happened here. This has taken 10 minutes. Got some logs. Not sure what happened. 9 minutes. I wonder why. This was on the 8th of April. Let's take a look at all the runs. Okay. So it could be because the previous day's one failed. But let's see what this guy thinks. No baseline to compare against. Oh no, sorry. P90 boundary. Okay, so the orchestra, basically the very basic Claude agent with no skill has not managed to identify why this ran. So we should improve it. Let's see if it does any better for some other runs. So we've just found this one that takes a very long time. Again, worth investigating whether it hung or ran an unusually large scan. Now, I actually know the reason for this one, which I can show you. So if I take a look for Snowflake data quality tests, or maybe I'll just call it quality, you can see here this has taken 6 hours. And the reason for that is there's an approval step in the pipeline. So this is just waiting for somebody to say, yes, you can do this. It was waiting for a long time. So we can take a look at some of the other ones, like, this impact analysis that we're running on Snowflake, one of them took a little bit longer than normal, not a big deal. Again, this one, a little bit longer than normal. Same dev iteration session suggesting the pipeline was running on progressively heavier code versions during development. Interesting. And then we've got this really nice summary at the top. So, this particular run took 6 hours. Find out why. The metadata import, which we had before, this was really slow compared to normal. And then finally, we've got a couple of medium priority things to investigate. Some things which are taking a little bit longer than normal, but not super long. Now, I know you're thinking, well, this is cool, but wouldn't it be great to have this in a pipeline? You can actually do that. So I have this analyze tasks.py file, and I can run that. So to run this as a sort of Python agent, all you need to do in Orchestra is create a Python integration, and then you can actually pass the prompt to a script. So in this case, I'm doing something slightly different. I'm calling my agent script, which is just a wrapper around Claude. Think of it as like a Python way to be like, hey, run this script with this prompt. And we can see that I'm passing in the prompt here. You could change this prompt to the prompt I had before. So what you would do is you would go up, you would take this, and you would put that here. I've got an extra line. But you see, it's quite nice to do in Orchestra, because if you then need to have many agents that are doing things, all you have to do is change the prompt, which is in code. And the benefit of doing it this way is that you can then run this, right? You could run this every 15, you could run this every 15 minutes. You could run it every hour to identify long-running jobs. And then if you need to see sort of how things are going, you have all of the logs, everything Claude is doing. It'll all be here. So that's kind of how we're thinking about how we can use agents to identify anomalies. But not just to identify anomalies, like really start to leverage the Orchestra metadata to sort of work out exactly why these things are taking a long time. We'll be adding things like skills. So yeah, like let us know your thoughts, and yeah, make sure you hit like.